Dreaming, don't give it up, dreaming, don't give it up, Wolfman. Dreaming, don't give it up, King of Monsters. Dreaming, here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. Hey yo 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 oh oh oh. Buckle up for TexasWolfArt, a global adventure, a work of art.
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today in this video I will be making the Husk themed key from Hazbin Hotel. To start off on this build, I'm going to start by taking a piece of parchment paper, which allows me to see through my design and start using my special ink pen that I can trace over the design onto the parchment paper. Once the design is done on the parchment paper, I now use my oven baked clay for this build for the key. I take a good amount of the oven baked clay and I start by smushing it and rolling it into the ball so I can get the clay loose. And that way I can start by stretching it out and using the roller to flatten it fully. Once the clay is nice and flat the way I want it to be, I now take my scissors and start cutting out the key design. After I cut my key off from the parchment paper and finally have my template design of the key, I can now place it on top of the flat clay so it can stick perfectly and it won't be moved. Next step, I will be using a skewer stick. The skewer stick will be used as a core within inside the key. So I measured it how long it needs to be by marking it with a pen, and then I go to the next step by cutting it just a little bit so that way it's enough for me to break it. When it's broke off and finally have the piece of the skewer stick that I needed for the core for my key, I now take the skewer and start making 2 holes on top and bottom of the key so that way I know whereabouts I need to put it inside the key. I now carefully remove the clay off the parchment paper without damaging the clay or the template, the design that's on it, carefully as possible so it stays as one piece. So I can now flip it over and start working on the back side of the key by taking the skewer stick that I broken off and place it in the center where I marked it so it can stay put where it is. I now take my 2 fingers and I start pushing it in so that way the stick itself can stay within inside the clay as its core so the key can stay strong inside and out.
Next thing that I do, I take out my knife set. I chose which particular blade I wanted to use for this, so I decided to go with a smaller blade, which allows me to get into those small areas. So the first thing that I do first, I take a piece off the clay, because this piece of the clay itself is going to use to be placed on top of the skewer stick. And then once it's nice and thick and enough where I can put it on top, I put it into place and I put it in. Once I have the piece of clay completely with the clay itself, I now take the clay off the parchment paper once again and place it back where it was before so I can start working on it from the top. I start by making sure that the template is okay, and then from there I take my blade once again and start cutting out all of the clay around the key. Once the clay is completely gone that I cut out and placed a hoop on top of the key, I now go to the next part by taking just a simple dime and place it on the center part of the head where the circle is placed and start pressing down on it so it makes a nice inner circle. Once the inner circle is deep enough, I can finally take the template off from the key itself. And then I go back and place the dime on top of the inner circle once again, and then from there I take my special set of carving set tools and I can start by going around the key itself by placing some features into it. The head itself will feature 2 things. The center part would be the hat and also the wings. And once I made that effect, I can now work on the wings as well to give it that nice 3D effect with my tools. Once the texture 3D effect for the wings is done, I can now take the dime off, and then I can take my finger and start rubbing in the inner circles so that way there won't be that dime design effect. And then from there, I start by taking a piece of clay. I will make 2 small pieces so I can start working on the small details for the key. Once I have my 2 pieces of the clay, I now start working on the first feature is the bow tie, and then the second piece will be the set of cards. I use my blade again to cut around the clay and remove the parchment paper template and start putting them into place. The card ones was a bit tricky, but being careful, I was able to make sure that it stayed in the very center of the key. And from there, I take my tool once again and I start making sure that all pieces stayed within the key itself. Once everything was put together, I set up the oven to 250 and I set the timer for 15 minutes. Once the 15 minutes were done, I was able to take it out of the oven and it came out in one piece. It came out beautifully the way I wanted it to be, and all the angles the way I wanted it to be, and everything the way it was cooked made it solid as a rock. But now I have to take my blade once again and start going around the rough edges to get everything from within the key on all angles nice and smooth. I had to be careful while carving, otherwise it would be ruined. But once everything was nice and smooth on all angles, I can now start working on the next step, because I noticed that the wings were not large enough. So after taking some more clay and make it more thicker to get more adjusted the way I want it to be, I now put some extra clay on the design in the middle part of the key, and then I take it to the oven, same time and same temperature, for 15 minutes. Once being in the oven again for 15 minutes was done, I can now go on to the painting. I will use regular red paint, and the rest of the paint I will use metallic. I also made sure I had gloss nail polish as well. The first color I'm going to use is the main color itself by using black. Painting the key with this amount of color will take at least 2 or 3 coats of black paint, so that way the solid color of the key will be as I wanted it to be. Once the key is solid black, I now go to the next metallic color, which is white, for the 2 pieces that's on the middle part of the key. This part will also be a multiple coating, but I also made sure that the paint brushes that I use gets those small little details that the large ones didn't get. Once I get those 2 pieces done, I was able to work on the cards that was in the center as well, and from there I go in with the next color, which is the silver metallic color for the inner wings. The next color I'll be using is red, but I also use white metallics to mix up the red so it can have some, at least that effect of that shiny metallic red color to it for the out parts of the wings. This amount of coating took at least 3 to 4 because of how much red is mixed in with the metallic color that I used. And I also made sure that with my brush I had to be careful so that way the red doesn't accidentally get mixed in with the silver inner color. So far the colors that I put on this looks beautiful, but we're not done yet. So I have decided to use a toothpick and take some red and start making in the designs for the cards within the key itself. The 3 card designs that I'm going to do is in order, and the first one I am going to do is the heart card, next one is the diamond, and the last one will be the spade card. This took some patience and serious concentration, but after it was all done, I was very happy with the result that it made the cards on the key stand out and pop. Normally I wait until all the painting is done on the key, but I figured I might as well start with the nail gloss for starters first, because there's a reason why. Since there's so many designs on the key, I figured to get this part of the key glossed and shiny, so that way everything will be protected, and also gives it that nice beautiful shine the way I want it from front and back. Also, I added another color on the key, which is the metallic gold, inside of the inner circle to give that popping look with the cards. And I also take my toothpick once again, and this time I start with a metallic black to get the tips of the wings. Next, I take my small brush and I make a thick stripe going across the key on both sides. I take my small brush once again, and then I start using the pattern design, which is red dots and silver dots on the black stripe, and then I did the black stripes on top of the outer rings with some silver dots as well for the design. Finally, I take my nail gloss once again and I start getting those last areas that need to be glossed, and after putting the final touch on the final key itself, the Husk key from Hazbin Hotel is finally complete.
Thank you for watching. Be sure you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of my videos. Leave a like and also leave a comment down below to see what else you want me to make.